What up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And Brograph is a supplement to our site, Brograph.com, which is a motion graphics site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other MoGraphy stuff. On the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, and working for the man. And if you have questions and you'd like to send something in, or if you have comments, you can send an email to brograph@brograph.com, or you can look us up on our contact page at brograph.com, and you can send stuff in.
Yep. They don't all have to be questions about, like, MoGraph questions. They could be questions about real life, you know? Like, hey, what do I do in this circumstance? Hey, is it okay to pair this red wine with this fish?
100 duck-sized horses, or horse-sized ducks, or whatever that question is. It's on Reddit all the time.
Yes.
So
what is it? 100 duck, yeah, or one, yeah, okay, you know, you had it right, yeah.
Yeah,
well done, sir.
Duck-sized
horses, yeah.
No, it's 100.
No, 100 duck-sized horses,
duck-sized horses,
or one horse-sized duck. Yeah.
Yeah, and my answer to that is always, I would take the 100 duck-sized horses.
My answer is always, where are we talking about?
Because I could just kick them all.
Let's just go.
Yeah. So this is going to be a short show. I know we always say that, but we don't have a lot of notes. We're actually recording early this week because we have a big shoot coming up and a lot going on.
David's coming back into town.
He's coming back again. And so we're kind of getting this out of the way. I'm going to try an experiment and do one of those automated posts for everything and see how it works out.
Oh boy, that's fun.
Scheduled posts. And we'll see if it comes out. It should be coming out Sunday, so you'll have it Monday. If you're listening now, you're like, hey, it's Monday, and the podcast is already up. So if
for
if
those
you're new
of
to
you
the
who
show,
are texting us and, you know, tweeting us and, you know, calling us in the morning as I'm still sleeping, you know, while you're on your way to work, saying, hey, is your podcast up? No, it's not. Sorry, Amy. Just wait a few more minutes.
So it's there. And if you haven't listened to the show before, this is going to be a little bit different because we don't have as much content. It's not as structured as usual. Man, I'll tell you, last week I was so exhausted from all that stuff that there's so much I wanted to say about DFWC4D and other things, and my brain was completely toast.
Yeah, dude,
after doing all that stuff.
I've had people living with me, you know, because I live with my roommates, my parents, you know, and stuff.
You live in their house, to clarify.
You know, they've been here for a couple weeks, or my mom's been here for what feels like 2 months, and I'm pretty sure it's like 2 months, you know, and then with DFWC4D and like blah, 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 all this stuff, man, I have not been getting like any sleep.
Because they're moving to where?
They're moving to California. So,
California officially now.
Yeah, officially. Like 2 days before they were supposed to leave, they got a call saying, "Oh, we might move you to Florida." You know?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and so then they're like, "Okay, wherever, you know, send us wherever." But nah, they ended up going to like Santa Rosa.
Man, how old are they?
I don't know. Older than me.
50s?
I think my mom's late 50s. My dad is 4 years older than her.
Man, I don't want to be moving around like that when I'm that age. Do they like moving around like that?
Yeah, my dad kind of did that like growing up. Like, you know, that's where I got the that's where I learned to sell my house every 3 years and move into a new house.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I have done. I have officially done. Yes.
And you were in Nantucket. Where were you born officially?
Orem, Utah.
But you lived in Nantucket for a while, right?
No, I never lived there. My folks did for 5 years.
Oh,
no.
They did?
They did, yeah.
Oh, after you had graduated.
We moved to Dallas. We moved to Texas when I was like 3.
I gotcha.
You know? So, like, I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as fast as I can.
I'm not as think as you drunk I am.
The only place I've ever lived besides Texas that I can really remember, I lived in Vegas when I was really young. And then I lived in Portland like when I was like 24 or 25, which that was an awesome year of my life living in Portland, and it was also a really crappy year of my life. But I love Portland. Good stuff.
Well, I guess we should do a little bit of motion graphics news and junk.
Yeah, now that you've
Like
learned
you do.
everything there is to know about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the big news is that I'm sure everybody has seen that Deadmau5 has been doing the streaming stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I guess it's Dead Mouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, yeah,
is
I always
right?
thought it was
'Cause the
Dead
5.
Mouse.
I don't know how you
The 5
pronounce
is the
5.
Deadmau5.
I've always said, yeah, the very first time years ago that I saw it written, I was like, Deadmau5?
Deadmau5.
Was it like 5? Is that like Ben Folds 5? I didn't know who it was.
That's
And
pretty
then I
good.
listened and I was like, okay. So
It sounds nothing like Ben Folds 5.
or we'll just call him
I've
Joel.
been cheated.
We'll just call him Joel, we're cool like that.
Oh yeah, you know,
No.
just having Twitter conversations with Joel,
Yeah,
and Mike, we're all just this, super
Mike.
close tight knit group of bros and stuff.
So here's the deal: is that somebody sent us? I have to give credit because YouTube user and listener Alex Robertson sent us this link and said, "Hey, check it out." He's looking at your tutorial and he's spent like a good 15 minutes there. It's like a 12-hour live stream, and it's like of like a 3 or 4 part series where he's working on his visuals. He streams all the time. I've seen some of his streams before, and so credit to Alex because it went into our spam box, and like YouTube will not let me approve the comment and put it on the page.
How did it go in our spam box?
It went in our YouTube, like possible spam box, and I can't click. There's no button to click approve. I go click on Alex's name, and I can't send him a message. Like his account's private, so I just wanted to say thanks because I wasn't able to respond online for pointing that out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
and it looks like he looked at some of EJ's stuff as well. And
yeah, he's been for those of you who don't follow him or anything, he's been creating his own concert visuals for
which is super cool.
which is crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's cool enough to be able to create good music like that, but then to actually create the crazy visuals that go along with it, it's like, that's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and a lot of like, DJs or VJs, they do their own thing like that, but they're like getting things off the internet, like loopable VJ tracks and stuff like that, and they're mixing them with some, Sony or Vegas Pro or whatever they use, and like, just creating loops. Like this is full on Cinema 4D, Octane, hardcore, and it's amazing to me. I don't know what kind of training he has, but he seems to know what he's doing fairly well here, and I don't know who he knows or who he's talked to. Maybe it's Beeple.
I don't know. Maybe. Oh, you mean Mike?
So the whole thing is that like I have such respect for diving into that, but not only that, but kind of bringing out like our craft in that community. Just making people aware of what's involved in doing that stuff. That's really cool. I'm I sit here. And a lot of times, and you'll vouch for this, I'll get off Skype with you and I'll be like, okay, I got to put my headphones in and just dive into this project. Yeah. And like 30% of the time, if I'm listening to that type of music, that's the music I'm listening to because, I'll either put on Deadmau5 or Madeon or Zed or something like that because I don't know what it is about that type of music, but like it just drives me to just animate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I just get into it and I'm in the zone. And it's something about that type of music. I don't always listen to that type of music outside of sitting here at the desk. Like I don't get in my truck and turn that on first thing. It might come on or something, but it's not like I specifically looked that up. So a lot of times I'll get in and I'll just go to an artist and say, here, play all the top tracks, and I'll sit there and listen. So the cool part about it to me personally, after seeing him watching me talk about Fog and Smoke and Octane, is that I actually listen to his music. Yeah. It'd be different if like Dolly Parton started doing Octane,
It's one of the man, this is one thing that I love about our day, back when I was a kid, but when you're younger and stuff like that, it's like, how do you get a hold of an artist? If you want to do something or say something or you write them a letter, you send it to their people, and hopefully maybe one day they'll open that letter, right?
Right.
This, like, literally 2 days ago, we see that he's doing this stuff. And so I actually sent him a message on Twitter and said, hey, you. Say, hey, you.
Hello there, you.
Hello, you.
Hello, Mr. Mouse.
How are... Or should I call you Dead?
Dead.
Oh, that's funny. No, so I sent him a message. I was like, hey, I see you're using Octane and blah, blah, blah. We got a spotlight that we created for Octane Cinema 4D. I'd love to give it to you, so that, you can maybe use it or blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't hear anything back, but then we see this. We saw this. Okay, someone sends us this. Then it leads to the next thing where we tweeted it out and tagged him in the tweet. And then he retweeted it. It got like what, 70 likes or something like that,
in like
which
minutes.
is crazy. It's like,
yeah,
we barely even have 70 followers.
And then we found out that he's looking at EJ's stuff too,
and so then I'm looking at, we got a bunch of followers from that tweet, which was cool, and sure enough, he's one of them. And he only follows like 450
impressive.
people or something like that. He's got 3.5 million followers, and he only covered. That feels freaking awesome. Because I went to his page and I saw that I could actually send him a message. I'm like, oh, I can send him a message now? That's weird. But then, sure enough, he was following me. So I sent him a message. I said, hey, dude, hey, Mr. Mouse. Here is, hey, Mr. Mouse 5. Here is a coupon code for our spotlight. Hope you enjoy it. And he totally responded. It's so crazy.
That's really cool. And,
like back in the day, you wouldn't ever been able to do that.
Right. And the fact that, like one of my favorites is the Velt. I guess that's how you say it. I've never heard that word pronounced.
The Velt.
And I sent you this video as well. We'll put it in the show notes. To where he made this track.
Oh, yeah.
This is like 2012, which this is like I love this track, and I think it's probably one of his most popular. I'm not sure, but because I hear it a lot. And so he did this track. He put it out there on SoundCloud. It was just the track, and somebody's like, "Man, I made vocals to this." And like, not only did the guy make vocals, but it was relevant to a short story or something that it was based on the whole thing that he and so. Like, the guy sends him the thing and he's live, and like, here's his reaction to it. And these are the vocals that you hear on the song, with some modifications. I think he had some like weird loopy repetitive thing going on. But the fact that having an audience like that, I mean, you're interacting directly. There's none of this corporate, publisher businessy crap that goes on along with it, and just everybody's part of this community now, and I think it's just amazing.
I've told this story a million times, and this totally brings it. This totally brings it all together. It wraps the story back around, so to say. So when we went to Half Res, I heard Andrew Kramer was there. I was like, I'm going to go find Andrew Kramer because I want to meet Andrew Kramer, right? And so I'm walking around, and I know you guys have heard this story. For all the new listeners, this is for you.
Okay.
So I'm walking around looking for Andrew Kramer, and he's outside talking to Paul Babb and Nick Campbell. And I'm like, that crowd's just a little too intimidating for me, right? So, but then I told Paul that story. He's like, nah, it's fine. We all poop just like everyone else, And it's true. We all
Or sometimes we wait. Sometimes we wait till the next day so that we can get a 5 minute 5 minutes in doing our daily.
Right? That's pretty good.
Oh, which, by the way, side note, I did hear Chris Schmidt say yesterday on Grayscale Gorilla's live stream that they should be posting those videos pretty soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
So, because we were talking about it with EJ the other night and David, that they never came out, and I really wanted to watch the Beeple conversation.
Yeah,
again,
the Beeple conversation was so good.
Yeah. So I'm wondering though if this stuff will be a trend. Like maybe if artists start doing their own video, maybe I can start creating my own beats, yo.
Yeah, straight up.
Drop some sick beats, and then in the future, like we'll do our 10-year show.
Yeah.
Like we do every year in the
Right.
future. And then I'll be like, yeah, I'm going on tour now because I dropped my own beats, and I sent it over to our buddy Joel, and he was like, yeah, this album's fire. And
Yeah,
then,
totally.
And then
It
he's
caught his
like,
whole
"Will you
house on fire."
Come open for us because, you can drop them beats.
Yep.
So maybe I can get into this. I watched his masterclass series. I have a couple left because the holidays got busy and I wasn't able to finish it. So I need to finish it up, and because I'm learning how to use the software, which I sort of kind of know about audio already, but I just, I like to see the process. It's really cool seeing someone else's process and learning that way.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like that's the way I don't know. You can learn really well on your own, but I actually learned really well whenever I was working for a studio, and I was able to learn kind of from you,
Well, and somebody sits there and they're doing the actual work in front of you, not just telling you, here's what this tool does. They're actually showing, it's not just a description of the tool, and you're not sitting down in front of all these controls saying, what is all this? And now it's come around full circle because we've both watched each other's videos. That's pretty sweet. Mm-hmm. I like that. That makes me feel good. That made my whole week right there.
Yeah, totally.
So,
just
so the next
that
step,
ladder. Just keep on climbing that ladder of popularity, man. Pretty
Right.
soon we're gonna be hobnobbing with the president. Then I'm gonna, punch him.
Oh boy!
Oh boy!
You're gonna get the Secret Service on us.
Yeah, it's all right.
So
You know what you should do in the edit? You should beep out the punch word, and so that it sounds like I'll do something else to him.
oh, like editing?
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Marker.
So, maybe next step, we'll get him on the show.
Yeah. Right.
As long as he has a microphone. You think he has a microphone?
I don't know. We may have to send him a Yeti.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so we're prepping for our shoot. Well, like I was talking about, that's why we're gonna kind of keep this short. We got busy weekend ahead, and so in VFX world, getting ready for this deal, we bought some stuff. There's a lot of good resources online, for people who are looking to have kind of a what would you call it? A grab bag of tools for doing VFX stuff on site.
Like a grip bag?
Well, yeah, it's a grip bag, but it's like a VFX grip bag. It's cooler than that. It has like a lot of fun toys in it,
Right.
For example, we have this measuring tool. That's a laser measuring tool. And, in doing research, you want to find one that has a mute because you're going to be on set and you don't want it beeping and doing all that. You never know. And so you can measure out points, and as you're doing your shoot, you're writing down, what lens was used and the sensor size of the camera and how far.
Are we going to be doing that, or is someone else going to be doing that for us?
We are going to be getting that information from them.
Okay.
And then we're also going to do like a distortion grid just in case we need to, figure out the distortion of the lens before we do our 3D tracking and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
And then tapes, of course. We got a variety of tapes.
Right,
You do
like
something like that.
HDV tape and high 8 tape, digital high 8 tape,
Right.
and super VHS.
No, gaff tape.
Oh, gaff tape.
But speaking of super, it's super expensive.
Gaff tape?
Yeah, God, it's so expensive.
That was a terrible.
Yeah, I know. It was awful.
I
So
don't know.
there's different kinds. We got like the 1-inch tape, so we can do the crosses real easy instead of having to tear all the individual pieces of tape. And then we got some different colors.
Yeah, we're shooting in a bunch of places that are like stark white. It's like all white. So, okay, we're going to need to put down a lot of tracking markers.
And a lot of people have green tape. We didn't buy green tape. It's kind of like, what are you going to use that for, really? It's not.
Oh, that's right. You bought the yellow tape.
So yellow tape, because you can put that on green for tracking if you need to. We might have some green stuff on set. So there's a link if you want to check out lens distortion grids. There's a like PDF that somebody made that has some nice distortion grids that you can print out and use. Our method is not going to be quite as complicated. Honestly, this is a backup just in case. And so what we're doing is we're doing the lens distortion grid on an iPad, on a big Pro iPad,
Right.
and just doing it that way. So
I like that iPad of yours.
I really like
nice.
it. It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Didn't talk about this.
What?
Didn't put this in the notes. I ordered a razor.
Yeah, you did, my
Yeah.
boy.
Yep. Started thinking about it. I saw Chris and Chad showing off the external box yesterday on the stream, and I started thinking about it again. The day before, I had actually put the thing in the cart and not bought it because I wasn't sure yet.
Yeah.
But 4K and touchscreen and 1060 and
yeah, it's exactly what I've been telling you. Like, you may not use it all the time. You know, that's the thing with a laptop. You know, especially us working from home. But when you need it, it's going to be there, and it's going to be incredible.
I think we can use it for some of the live broadcast stuff that we're going to start doing as well.
Totally. Yeah, especially if it's touchscreen.
I got to keep the resources off the computer that I'm using so that it doesn't bog down. Even when I'm doing work, like I've been working on the Brograph logo animation
it's
this
looking
week.
really good.
Thanks.
Get ready because once it's done, we're gonna have new music at the beginning of our show.
It's going to be done today, so maybe
then we're
I'll
gonna have oh, did you hear that new music at the beginning of our show this week? That's really
good. That was good, wasn't it? So, where was I going with that? Oh, so I'm working in that. Like, I like to use this program called Screen Ninja. I think that's the name of it. And it takes all your screens and records them as you're working, and not like video, because that would take up a ton of room. But you can do, you can say take one frame every 30 seconds or something like that. Right. And then it puts this really cool video together of like a time lapse, and I record all 4 screens of mine at the same time, so it's recording
that's ridiculous.
3 over bigger than HD screens as well as a 4K screen at the same time. And so it bogs down, and I've noticed, like, I was having so many crashes in Octane the other day, and then when I came back to it and I was doing touch up, I was changing the colors we were talking about. I wasn't recording when I did that. And I had no crashes. No, which is fine.
You didn't have any crashes?
Well, it's just fine. I was just changing some colors. It doesn't really have to be in the time-lapse version.
Right.
But I wasn't running it for that reason. I was like, I don't need to show this. I recorded a little bit. And at that point, when I recorded a little bit of it, I started getting crashes again. And I think it's just using too many resources. And I would like to, use other computers to keep the resources down while we're doing stuff live, so we don't have crashes.
Totally. And that, I've moved over to my PC full time, and it's been very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I download feels like it's going to be a virus.
Right.
But other than that, it's been doing really well. And my Mac, it just feels old and dated right now. Now that
old, busted,
I feel
new
like
hotness.
Windows 10 is like, man, it's streamlined. It's nice.
It's good.
And like figuring your way around the all the stupid little things you got to do. Like, how do I change the sound on here? Oh, how do I add a new user? Blah, blah, blah. It's like all that stuff is super simple now because you just tell Cortana.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And having a 4K screen in a laptop, man. Man.
It's not quite 4K. It's almost 4K, but still, it is.
Well,
it's killer.
Is it 300 and something by whatever, or 3,000 something by whatever? Because that's technically 4K.
Yeah.
They consider that 4K. But you know what? And I wanted to know what Deadmau5 is using for his gear, because when he posted
it says
a
it's got
screenshot,
9 GPUs, right?
Yeah, dude, like 4 different computers and 9 GPUs. I'm like, dang, what are you running?
Dang, boy.
Damn, Daniel.
Damn,
Deadmau5.
Ah, that's pretty good. I like that.
So, anywho, what do we got here? So, I have imported the DFW C4D talks with EJ and the two of us and David, of course, and I'm in the process of editing them. Cool. Of course, there's not much editing to do. I'm just kind of lining up footage. And stuff
because
like that.
Man, and the way you did it, like, I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but man, it is incredible. We bought this little box that handles basically everything, and it converts everything, and so we're able to live switch while we were doing it, and like So all you really got to cut in occasionally is just like, when I don't cut soon enough to the GoPro camera or something like that,
Yeah, or when you had stuff crash on you a little bit, unless you want me to leave that in.
Leave it in, yeah. Dude, I think it's hilarious.
So I've got to get this new logo together, and then I'm going to put it out. I'm going to put David's out first because you can tell like his video is gaining steam big time right now.
Totally. I'm telling you, motionographer. I'm calling it right now.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, totally. I called it months ago. It's going to happen.
And there was a blog on Grayscale Gorilla as well, and David actually did a little video to show how he used Signal with that.
Totally.
And so that's going to be up. But I got all the media transferred. It's like, I like to call it Schrodinger's media.
Uh-huh.
Because once you get all that stuff on, recorded at once and you get it in one place, like until it's all in one place and it's secure and maybe like downloading or uploading to Dropbox and has a duplicate copy, the whole deal, it doesn't exist. It exists and it doesn't exist at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And so like, I'm so nervous. We put all this work into it and it all hinges on whether or not this media turns out, whether or not we can put it online.
Yeah.
Because it's such an asset to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to throw the event, but then you can take it and you can put it on for other people to see. And
yeah, totally. Being able, and with that whole setup, we're able to record it. I mean, it was last week. It hasn't even been a week yet,
Mm-hmm.
And there's very little work that actually has to be done. You just throw it up there, Throw the logo on there, stick it with the new music. Man, did you hear that music at the beginning? It was so good.
Yeah.
And then good. Just get her done.
Yeah. So that's going to be up. I guess we'll do a link to Grayscale Gorilla's post.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some good chatter. I think we saw a screenshot from David of people talking about the meetup, and they were surprised how many people were there. I think that was in the Slack channel, Motion Graphics Slack channel, which I need to get more involved in. We have a Brograph login for it, but I never really go on there.
Yeah, totally.
And what else? Mr. Meeseeks is still rendering out that new logo right now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did do this week, because it's just getting crazy busy and we have so many little projects and side projects and things going on, is I went back to OmniFocus because I kind of slacked off from using it. I kind of let my to-do list linger for too long and there was too much stuff, and I noticed that I was being less productive because I would forget about stuff. I wasn't writing down as much and I wasn't setting goals for myself and the whole thing. And I know that you want to use Trello more. And
yeah, I mean, I used Trello at one of my previous jobs and I really liked it.
Yeah.
And it's nice because you can create cards for each of your projects and stuff, and then place them on whoever is handling what, and then you can actually upload images or upload links to videos and stuff like that. It's really convenient for being able to organize stuff. And you and I are getting to a point where we need to keep stuff organized.
And that's exactly what OmniFocus does. It's basically a local version of Trello, if you think of it that way. Like, it's exactly the same. But the thing is that I like using the OmniFocus stuff and the sync and everything between the platforms and the whole thing for myself. And I use it for everything of mine, my personal stuff too, all of that. And I'm not going to put all that on our Trello account. So what I've done is made this thing so like if you add a task for me in Trello, it automatically sends it to my OmniFocus.
Oh, that's cool.
So that I can see that task that you gave me, and then I can do my own things with it. I can add like subtasks and all of that myself.
And does that go back to my Trello?
I don't know exactly. I'll have to try it out and see.
So you would need to then go into Trello, mark it down in OmniFocus, go back to Trello, and blah, blah, blah. Right? Yeah,
well, the other thing, too, is that the third thing you can put in there's something called Pomelo, and this is a different method that I hadn't heard much about. OmniFocus is the GTD, Getting Things Done method, and Pomelo is like a method of measuring tasks, and I guess the whole principle behind it is that most people cannot do more than 25 minutes of work at a time.
Dude, that's exactly what I've been saying. I've been saying that forever. Amy gets mad at me because while we're cleaning the house, I'm like, dude, 25 minutes of work, 5-minute break.
Yeah.
25 minutes of work, 5-minute break.
That's exactly what the principle. Have you heard of this principle before?
Yeah, totally. I've heard it, and she thinks I'm totally full of crap. I'm like, no, we'll be cleaning or something. I'm like, all right, I've done 25 minutes of work. I got to take a 5-minute break.
But the thing too, like, okay, so there is a Pomelo and it interfaces with this so that the tasks from Trello go into Pomelo. And then when you're using this app, it's a Chrome plugin. When you're using the app, it keeps track of those tasks and how long they took for you. But it also sets a timer. So you say, I'm going to start this task now. And you hit the button and it starts a countdown timer. By default, they have a ticking sound, which is the most annoying thing in the world. You can turn that off. I should have that off by default. The thing, though, is that when you do this, it makes you more...
That would mean... It would seem to me like it'd be less productive hearing this ticking sound constantly in your brain.
Yeah, totally. But the thing is that it comes to like however many Pomelos did it take to do this task. So you're working on a task, you get to the end of it after 25 minutes, and then you take your 5-minute break. If you need more time, you still take your 5-minute break, and then you come back. Or you could do extended breaks or however you want to do it. But then you know how long tasks take. But having that timer up while you're working really tends to keep you accountable. Okay, I've got 15 more minutes to get this done. It stops you from procrastinating and be like, check out Facebook, that kind of thing.
I don't check out Facebook anymore.
I know. Look at me. I'm not on Facebook.
Dude, get rid of your Facebook. It's the best. Tell Mark Zuckerberg where he can stick it.
So what's nice about it is you mark it done and it marks it off in Trello and the whole thing. So, you know, there's the thing is I go looking for some of this stuff and I try and find things, and it's really funny to me, kind of ironic, surfing subreddits on how not to procrastinate.
Right.
But the whole thing is that whatever is easiest for you. Like I got a little too into it, the productivity stuff, to the point where I'm spending more time trying to organize than actually do the tasks.
Right.
You want it to be kind of a happy medium where, yeah, you've got to spend time organizing, but in a way that is helpful. Pomelo is so much. Like I don't know how to do that all the time.
If the organization is taking more time than it you need to be able to save time by being organized, because if you're not saving time by being organized, then what's the point of being organized? You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Using these different apps, you have to be able to, I don't know, it needs to be more efficient for you to be organized than to not be, if that makes sense.
It's like Merlin Mann says, joining a Facebook group about productivity is like buying a chair about jogging.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So you've got to find your happy medium that helps you be productive, and you're not spending like too much time getting, like, I couldn't get into all the details of Pomelo. I'm like, this is too much. Like I was spending too much trying to figure out how it worked. I'm like, no, okay, enough of this. I just got to do the task. Maybe I set my own timer, but I don't need to keep track of how long a logo took me to build.
Boy, Pomelo? How do you spell it?
Where did I put it? Up.
Because when I search it, I just get a fruit.
Well, that's what it is. Oh. But you got to do productivity. Is Pomelo.
Pomelo.
This thing connects your OmniFocus and your Trello and your Pomelo via if this then that.
Okay.
So there's the link for you. Oh, the link was already in the notes. Actually, you had it. So anyway,
shows how often I look at the notes.
I'll let you know how that goes. So other things this week. We've been playing Halo more. Back to Halo.
Finally.
Out of VR for a little bit. It's weird going back to non-VR games. Like a poor person.
Oh, jeez. No, we were playing VR for the past few days, and then we got on Halo last night, and I was like, oh man, this is weird that you're not actually having to turn your head and stuff. Right. And what was it? Oh, it was because we were playing around in Rec Room, and Dave discovered this hack that could let you walk through walls and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so we were walking through walls like crazy and stuff, and
you're cheating.
Yeah, we're not really cheating
in the paintball game. Yeah. Kind of.
But then we start playing Halo, and it's like, oh, I can't walk through walls. I can't walk through walls, man. That stinks. How am I supposed to win?
Here's the cheat. If you're in a lot of games in VR, they have the transport system, and if you tap your controller back, it actually flips you around 180. So the trick is you flip yourself and you walk forward, and then you flip and you walk backwards, then you flip and you walk forwards, and it will push you further and further out without moving, like through the walls.
I bet you could use that trick to, that maze on the VR.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
What is that called?
Alt space or whatever?
Yeah.
I bet you anything, you could just use that to just walk straight through everything.
You'd be like Homer through the hedge maze.
Right.
That gif of him.
That gif, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So we were playing with Nick. Sage got it as well, and he's had like 100 gig file he was trying to install last night, so we're going to try it again tonight. Our buddy Lance, who's been on the show, he also has Halo, and then our friend Jeremy is getting it too. So we're going to have like a fire team of graphic designers.
Crazy fire team.
Yeah. All
picking apart
procrastinating.
the geometry and textures and whatever.
Yeah. Look at the specular, man. Oh, and you
it's all right. As long as we've got David on our team, we'll always win.
Oh, man.
Dude,
but that's why we keep getting put on like really, really difficult teams, because he's so high up there in ranking, I think, and then we just get frustrated.
Yeah.
I was so frustrated last night. We got beat like 47-10 or something.
Yeah, but then we came back and like totally whooped up.
Yeah, and some other ones.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to mention is Dropbox is adding features. And now they said that they did this, and I still don't see it in here yet, but they're supposed to be adding a deal where you can see all your files at any time, even if you're not synced with those files, which is great.
Yeah.
Because
when are they rolling that out?
Well, they said they already did. I don't know. I'm going to have to research it more. So essentially, you've got a new icon that goes next to your files. And if you're working with big files like we do, we've got clients with, giant archive projects, and we don't necessarily want them on the local drive.
Right.
We've got close to 12 terabytes of stuff on Dropbox, and we don't want all of that on our local computers. And so what's cool about it is it will show the file, but it's not actually there. And then you can use it. You can right click. You can get the file right there in your Finder or your Explorer. The cool part about it is you don't even have to do anything. Like if you wanted to open a Cinema 4D file, you would double click on it, and then it would like quickly download the file and then open it, all kind of in one deal as soon as you click on it. So that's nice. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And same thing, it kind of works selective sync the other way too. I think you could take a group of files or a folder and right click and say, okay, take that back to the cloud. I don't want that on this drive right now.
That would be really cool.
Like an archival process. So
hopefully they roll that out soon.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of crap I would like to see, but not have on my computer at all.
And even stuff with like DFWC4D, for example, 111 gig worth of content between all our cameras and servers and the whole deal. And it's like, as soon as I'm done with that, I want to keep it, but I don't want it on this drive. And that's just a perfect solution for that.
Yeah, totally. 12 terabytes of Dropbox space below.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
So let's move on to Ravcock. What's your flavor? For those of you who don't know what that is.
Okay, Ravcock is, let's see, what is R?
Redshift?
Redshift, Arnold, V-Ray, Cycles, Octane, Corona. Yeah.
Ravcock.
What's your flavor?
Okay.
Or as Grayscale's calling it, the Render Wars.
The Render Wars. Totally. So I'm going to make this quick. I don't want to dwell on this, but let's just talk about this.
Oh, gosh.
A couple weeks ago.
All right. I'm just going to preface this by saying I don't 100% agree with the tactics that you did. But
it's
to each his own. Go
but
ahead.
I'm not wrong.
You
said you agree with me.
You're not necessarily wrong. You guys, here's the thing. You guys are just both poking the bear. Like, neither one of you guys want to give up.
But I'm the customer, so I'm right.
Okay, go ahead. And
Okay.
I'll explain my opinion on this.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we cut it out of the show. So I'm gonna,
yes, we did.
I'm going to say this again.
We did because I asked you to. Because we were having because they were sponsoring our event.
Right.
You didn't like me asking you to cut it out because but I did because they were nice enough to sponsor our event. And now that the event is over, we
can talk about it. So here's the deal. If you ever watch CNN, there's not a lot of talk about pharmaceutical legal prescription drugs.
Oh gosh, you're going to go into the whole
no, this is real quick. And how
conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory at all.
It's not a conspiracy theory if it's truth.
Well, they are sponsored by drug companies. All you see all day on CNN is drugs, 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 drugs. You got to buy all this stuff. They don't do big exposés on, why pharmaceuticals could be possibly bad for you. The same thing applies to, like, let's say, NPR, PBS, any of that. They're all sponsored by Monsanto. They never do anything about how Monsanto products could possibly be bad for you or give you cancer or any of that stuff. And I mean, that's just how it is. I've heard many, many people talk about this before. I listened to No Agenda, and on No Agenda, they do the same thing. They're like, they purposely don't take sponsors for that very reason. They're like, as soon as we take sponsors, then we have like an obligation to them, and all of a sudden we can't talk bad about them, so
I know. And that's the whole thing that you were saying whenever I was asking you just to cut it out. And you know what?
Right.
You're right.
But I felt bad about it.
I should have known from the very beginning, because we've had some beef with Ranch Computing in the past. Not you, have had beef with them, and then we worked everything out, and then I felt like, okay, well, we've got a good rapport now that we've worked this stuff out, let's see.
Right.
But
and
then
so we've used them a lot.
It immediately went to crap.
And then they kind of, they fixed things for us, and we were happy about that. And the last time that we had an issue, we explained it, and they were totally fine with that, and they gave us our money back.
They gave us a full refund.
For some reason, they're being sticklers about it for because reasons, and so this is the situation. There was a bug in Octane. We were doing the new logo. It had to be done for DFWC4D, which was the next day. We've been scrambling to get things done, and I didn't have 8 hours to wait to get the intro done. I had to get this other stuff up. And there's some other things that we're working on as well, where we had to have the reel ready. And we, slapped the new logo together. I really didn't have much time to do it, but like I still needed. Good. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I appreciate that, but I feel like I could spend days more on it.
Of course.
And so it was still, even with all of our gear, all of our cards, the whole thing was still going to take 8 hours to render. And I'm like, okay, I don't have the time. I could get this rendered in an hour on Ranch, and we'll just spend the money and we'll do it. It's $100.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, we're going to put $100 in it to save those 7 hours and not have to do it. To us. That would be worth it. And so I got on there. I let the whole thing go. I downloaded the files. I went and worked on the rest of everything because I didn't have time to sit there and babysit it. And then the files came back in, and I put them into After Effects, and every 8 frames exactly, there was an awful, awful glitch with like weird, crazy noises in it or something. And I'm like, what is going on? And I went and I checked, and it was every 8 frames exactly, which means to me, like, one of their systems was just had a weird glitch, which I understand, sometimes that happens. And so understandably, I'm not going to send it again. I'm not going to spend another $100 and have it happen again. And there's no way I could get on email right then. They don't have live support. I can't talk to them right away.
That's one of the problems that I don't know whether it's the fact that we are in America and they are in France, So, and France has that whole rule where you can't email them after hours, or, that law that just got passed, but it sucks when something goes wrong and you're trying to send something to the render farm, and you want to contact customer support and they're just not there. In
other situations it would be okay, but the thing about going to a farm is when you got to get it done now.
Yeah.
The urgency of a project, having to get it done quick. I'm like, there's no way I could call them and I need it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to do everything else, and I'm going to have to let it sit and render because I couldn't go one of the things that I would really like to have in cinema that's on my list of requests is to be able to type in which frames you want with comma separated values.
I feel like you can do that.
I've tried it, and you can, like I wanted to go 8, 16, 32, and then I could go re-render all of those files, right? So
can you not do that with tokens?
I have no idea.
I feel like you can with tokens.
Irregardless, the thing about it is that
that's not a real word.
I know, I'm joking. That was the joke.
That was the joke. Go ahead.
So the whole thing about it is that when you're rendering on something like this, a lot of times every system will have slight differences in gammas, slight differences in textures where they're off just by like a little sliver, you know, and they're not exactly right, which, you know, the way we get around that is that we have one master computer and then all the other computers slave to that so that they're all using the cards, but not necessarily a different version. You know, you don't have those glitches that way. And so when I went back, first of all, if you got a 500 frame sequence and you got to re-render a 5-minute frame every 8 frames, you have to sit there and babysit it for that, right? So we're talking 500 frames, and you divide that by 8. That's 62 frames that have to re-render, right? So every 5 minutes, 62 times, I would have to load up a new one and send it to the queue. So that's 62 frames, 5 minutes each. So it's 310 minutes. I would have to sit there and babysit and redo the frames. So the solution isn't really to re-render those frames. Even if it were, then it may not match. And in this case, it didn't match. I re-rendered one frame and I looked at it and I'm like, the gamma is slightly off. And I know it's not that far off, but when you play it back every 8 frames, it kind of flashes a little bit lighter. It's a little flicker. Yeah. And so I sent something to them and they said, well, we don't know why it's doing this, but yeah, it looks like it was every 8 frames and something was just off. So I'm refunding you just for those frames. I'm like, but I had to go re-render it myself. I didn't use any of it, you know? And
yeah, we had to re-render the entire thing ourselves.
Right. And so he comes back and he says, oh, well, you've got, you know, this is a glitch that just happens. If you just load it up, it doesn't happen. You load it up 50 times, it will maybe happen one time. I'm like, okay. So the solution usually would be to re-render it. But again, we don't have time for that. It's already passed. We already fixed it ourselves.
Right.
Because there was no live support to say, hey, can you try this one more time for me? And then just throw it back in the queue and wait another hour. There's no way to do that. We have to move on. It's a business. It's something we have to do. And so he said, well, it's not our fault. It's the equipment's fault. A poor craftsman blames his tools, right?
Right.
So I said, well, if I went to a video shoot and I set all this stuff up and I brought all this gear and huge ordeal for a client, and then we shot it on a Canon camera and the car got corrupted somehow, I couldn't say, oh, well, that's Canon's fault. So, you know, just go ahead and pay me anyway and we'll be on our way. I can't do that.
I'll give you all the corrupted files.
Yeah, I'll just give you the corrupted files and you can just, you know, edit with those. There's a bunch of gibberish and garbage in them, but just use that in your commercial. you know? And so that was my way of looking at it. It's like, it's all or nothing. And he, you know, he gets on Twitter and is responding to me
you
about
got
it.
on Twitter.
No, I got on Twitter, but he's responding to me about it and telling me, you know, that I'm being hateful and all this stuff. I'm not being hateful. I'm saying this is what happened. I'm reporting, like you and I sit here and we report on this stuff. We talk favorably and unfavorably about Otoy and favorably and unfavorably about different people because we are reporting on it unbiased. And I don't want sponsorship to get in the way of that, because it's the first thing that's going to happen is someone sponsored us and then all of a sudden we can't talk bad about them when it doesn't work. And then we're giving bad advice to our listeners.
Anyway.
And so what happens is...
Here's what sucks. So here's the bottom line that I see it from both your sides. But I do think they should have refunded us the money.
Right.
Because what they're saying, their argument is, well, we rendered out these other frames, and you can use those other frames, you know? But
I can't.
I know. Every eighth frame is not. See, they're not. You and I, we're in the video business. We create videos, right? And so if we were to send out 12 videos to a client and one of them was messed up, they still have the other, 11 videos that are totally okay. We just have to fix that one. All right. Now, see it with me, because I see you looking at me and you're like, rage. But they're not in the video. They're not in the video industry. They are in the frame industry.
Right.
So they don't see it as individual. They don't see it as one big video. They see it as individual frames. Now, the problem comes, yes, they did do those individual frames and stuff like that, but where the problem lies is that when we tried re-rendering every eighth frame, it didn't match with what they gave us, because something with Octane, something with Otoy, something with the software sees gamma slightly different depending on what hardware you're using, And so that's where the problem lies, is that we needed to get a full thing out, and even if we had re-rendered those frames, just those frames, we still would have had flickering or some sort of change. You would have been able to notice it. So we had to actually re-render the whole thing, which we ended up not being able to use any of the stuff that they gave us, and instead we had to re-render it all ourselves. So we spent $100 to not use any of the footage, and that's why we wanted the refund.
It's also about the time. Like, we're paying. It's not like we can't do any of this ourselves.
Right.
We're paying for the convenience of faster rendering.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's a big thing. You are paying for the convenience. And they say, oh, well, you should be monitoring it. I shouldn't have to monitor it, know? Right. We've used you guys enough to know that, well, I guess, no, we haven't used them enough. We've had problems in the past too. So
the other thing is, we had problems in the past that were, like, for instance, textures were slightly off, but it doesn't matter that they were slightly off because it was all rendered on one machine.
Right. Yeah, and that actually, we've run into that several times where we had to either re-render the entire thing ourselves or send it back to them in order to render it, because whatever version they're using throws off the textures.
Exactly.
Which is really dumb.
And we've done that. We've gone back and, okay, well, we'll re-render the whole end of this section because it has to be done on their machines, not ours, or else we have to start over. And, like, trying to explain that, and all I keep getting back in the emails is, well, it's not our fault because, the software did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what? It doesn't make sense. Like, and giving me a sob story about, like, energy costs and farm costs and all this stuff. I'm like, but that should be built in to have issues. Like you should foresee the fact that it's not always going to work. We know that.
Yeah, for sure.
We render stuff out all the time, and it's like, oh, it took 5 hours and it didn't work. I don't say, oh, well, call up the electric company, tell them not to charge me for those 5 hours of energy because the software screwed up. I don't have a choice. And the fact that they don't understand that, and they're trying to come back at us and say, oh, well, you've gone too far by posting this on Twitter. I'm like, why?
I don't like your tactics, is what they said.
Yeah.
I don't like your harassment tactics or something like that.
It's not harassment. We're literally reporting this is what happened. This is the information.
I don't know.
We're not saying you guys
I think
suck
you could
or
have
anything
been a
like that.
little bit more tactful about it, but
I just, when it pushed me over the edge is when we go back and forth 4 or 5 emails and still nothing. Like,
you kept poking them, they kept poking you, and, like, that's the thing. Like, no one's. I don't know if it's just, I don't know, that whole mentality of customer's always right, kind of, for the most part. Just it's $100. Why does it matter, to them? Right. Like, we weren't able to use your product and we paid for it. Just give us our money back.
Now, how much energy did that really take? Come on.
I'm sure. Who cares? Yeah. Like, they're giving away €30 worth of stuff to every free user. So literally, you could start a new account. You could use their €30 to render whatever frames. Start a new account again. Render a new one. I'm sure there are people who do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like you're complaining about $100 because it's probably already in your account and it's just inconvenient for you to have to return it. We're not even asking for money back. We're just asking for credit back.
Yeah,
credit back doesn't cost you anything.
We'll use it again. We'll still use it.
Totally
You'll still make that money. You'll make that money back. And that's what I don't get. And, I'm a stickler in customer service. You know that. You probably,
me too.
There's the thing about American Airlines where we had a problem on an airline flight. And I took it all the way to being interviewed with Steve Doocy on Fox News. I'm a stickler for that stuff. And so when we go back and forth that many times and the only thing that they were going to do to help is they said, send me a frame. I'm like, it's not going to help for me to show you a frame because I already fixed it. It's already over. And, case in point, we had somebody contact us about our plugin this week. Now, he sent us a deal and he said, hey, look, this isn't working for me. It's crashing constantly. And it's when I move the spotlight. I'm like, that's really weird because, like, at the root of it, you got a spotlight, you got some Octane stuff, and some Espresso. It's not a plugin. It's not a dlib. It's a just library element.
Python or
There's
coffee or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be different if it were a plugin. And, but he's got so much in the scene. He's got tons of polys and what else? He had particle stuff going on, and he had some other stuff, and he had signal in there, and all this other stuff. And also it's a new computer, and it was working fine before on his last version, right?
Nice.
So he sends me this, and I didn't say, oh, sorry, can't help you.
Well, it works just the way it is, so...
I said, well, let me tell you, I haven't had that particular problem. I haven't had anybody else say it, but let me help you with it. Tell me what you're running. Tell me, and you were in there too. What are you running? How many polys do you have? What kind of plugins are you using? Let's break this down. Let's figure it out. And I was like, send me a file.
Totally.
Let me. I'm going to dig into this. I'm going to get to the root of the problem for you. And we went back.
Yeah,
and
because
forth
if there's an issue, here's the thing: if there's an issue with our plugin, we want to know.
Yeah, we want to fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's something where we can't fix it or the thing's never going to work on the dude's computer, like we'll give the money back.
Yeah, totally.
We're willing to give the money back if it gets to that point, but we're really, really willing to help. And if it were too late, I'd say, okay, I guess we have to give the money back. But it wasn't too late. But in our case, it was too late. And the guy, we went back and forth, and we went, we talked about it, and he figured it out. It wasn't our plugin. Yeah. So, and it turned out it wasn't. So everything's good. But we were willing to go that mile to help for that. And that's the customer service thing I'm talking about. I want to make things right. Yeah. To the best of my ability. And so when I don't get it back the other way, it really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm a big stickler for customer service. I don't know, every job that I've ever worked, they're like customer service, pushing customer service. I mean, I worked for freaking Domino's for 9 years.
Right.
You have to be happy when you're talking on the phone with someone who can't realize what they want to order and are asking you what a pepperoni is.
And what's funny is, like, in that case, half the time you're faking it. We're not faking it. We're actually trying
if you're smiling whenever you're talking to someone, they actually know that you're smiling.
Right.
See, right now, like I'm smiling.
Anyway, no more dwelling on that. Let's go to email.
That's right. It's going to be over now, right? We're putting an end to it.
It's
Even
done.
if they tweet at us or send us an email, we're putting an end to it right now.
I'll just say, for a full explanation, listen to the show.
Oh gosh.
No, I mean,
sure.
that's it, right?
I mean,
listen to the show. I think it explains it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to say than what we explained.
Yep, I agree.
All right.
Anyway.
Email social. We got actually some more emails and stuff, and I like that. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
We love that. So, Ben Trahe? This actually came in today. Says, thanks for the podcast. As always, it's been a while since you released an informative freelancer tips episode. Got to thank that listener who gave some topic questions. Not that the previous podcasts were deficient, but the previous talks have been more about VRs. That's true. So, anyway, just wanted to clarify. regarding what has been mentioned.
Because we had just bought Oculus Rifts and we were super excited about it, so that's why we're talking about. Anyway,
larger light, smaller samples, and vice versa on a set based on realistic scale. Say a room. Is there like ballpark or range? What constitutes larger samples? Say 128 to 512, or smaller samples? Say 8 to 64. First of all, I guess, ratio is key. It's always about ratio. 128 to 512, that's a quarter ratio. Okay, and 8 to 64 is a quarter ratio. If you put those samples in with two lights, let's say, either way, it's going to look exactly the same because it's about the ratio. That's number one. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. So nothing really constitutes larger samples. Again, it's not about the number. You could say like 10,000 samples, and then the other one was a quarter of that. You're going to get the same result because it's not the same as the samples that you're rendering with. And then he said, or do you intend to include the material diffuse refraction samples? I don't think that there are diffuse and refraction samples. I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, we're talking about light samples when we're talking about that. It does apply to emission samples because those are basically light samples. Because you have the samples in your scene itself, and you have the light samples, and they're two different settings. So hopefully that clears it up. I don't know if maybe he was possibly talking about like if the amount of samples as a whole needs to change if you've got a bigger scene. I don't believe that's true. But I
mean, sometimes that's the case.
I
sometimes you just have to get more samples to the scene.
Or maybe this is it. Larger light, smaller samples. This is what David was talking about last week.
Okay, this is what I'm getting from the email. Is it, so you've got a larger light, do you need to give it more samples, say, versus a smaller light, do I need to give that less samples?
Right. It's not necessarily a scale thing. It's not like, okay, let's make this simple. Like one light. Okay. So you have one light and it's got 100 samples. And then you scale the scene up. Do you need to put more samples? No. What David was talking about is, let's say you have two lights and one of them is like, 100 times bigger than the other. That's what he was talking about. Is like the difference between samples on the larger of the two, not necessarily larger in general. Because if you had two lights that are the same size and you scale them both up to 100%, I don't think 100 or 200%, I don't think that would affect anything at all. I think he's talking about the relationship between a small light to a large light. I hope that clears that up. I hope that's what we're talking about. But let us know if we don't have it right, We'll address it again in the next one. Adam says, "Hi guys, I've been listening to the show for a while now. This is Adam Heslop, I believe that's how you say it. I've been gradually catching up, and I'm just about up to date. You mentioned a few times lately, or at least to where I've caught up to, that you'd like to be in touch with some Cinema 4D guys to do Python. I'm using Python a lot these days in cinema workflows. Thought I'd give you a shout. So he says, my work involves designing and creating physical, scriptural installations which are generally made from digitally controlled components. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, I believe I talked about this. I either talked about this on a show or I talked about this, or I just sent it to you and said, dude, check this out. But I went to his website. It is, I'm going to give it a shout out, pixelsinprogress.com. And he created basically these like lights in real life that are driven specifically in Cinema 4D. Do you remember that? That one that I sent? I'm making the motion of the lights right now.
I'm loading it up right now. I don't know. Did you send it to me?
It is absolutely. I remember asking you. I said, "Is this something that we could do for like live events and blah 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 blah?" You know?
Oh, you sent it. Okay, you sent it to me before we were in contact. Was it this exact site or was it just something similar?
It was his exact video.
Oh, nice. Maybe he posted on like Reddit or something. Yeah, because you're right. I remember seeing this now. Kind of a reverse engineering. We might have talked about this on the show. You're right. Like a reverse engineering of doing, like, instead of having like DMX control. I guess it's like DMX control coming out of cinema and going in. The reason that I'm like not like all into it and excited about it is because I have worked in the concert industry, and most people just already have these visualization programs that are all DMX controlled, and it seems to me like cinema is like just adding another step, in the process for possible error. I mean, I might be wrong. I haven't done it before. I'm just so used to just the industry itself, and I'm not quite sure I understand the need for it. But I'm sure there's a reason.
Come on. Well, here's the thing. I think like with this, you could actually, you can create your entire scene first and then see how the lights are going to react in real life. And then instead of having to go through and reprogram the entire lights to work the way that you've built it to like, to show it off, you just install those lights. Then it's just, you just click the button, dude.
Yeah.
You just click the button.
Well, see, that's what the people we work with do, is they have...
write a couple if-then statements in Python and you're good to go.
They've got programming for this, where you load the CAD file and you can see the whole thing anyway. Now, I could see how this could be beneficial in cinema, because cinema can take everything a step further than CAD. CAD's not going to show the realistic rendering, any of that stuff. It's going to show the set. It's going to show the lights. It's not going to look photoreal. So I get it. I get that part of it. Let me close this. I'm going to go back to the... Projects can scale from small gallery pieces to working on skyscrapers, so it's a really mixed bag of things. I use C4D to do all of the usual stuff like creating previs animations for project development, and I use Python for just about all of my rigs and setups in one way or another. Quite often, I'll write plugins too to facilitate these processes, but especially for when I want to get Cinema 4D to talk to the outside world. See, that's what I like right there. I'm super, super interested in that. Because I've dabbled in it, trying to get things with Python to work and Python SDKs to work, and I don't know enough about it. I can never get it to work right. Some of the commands don't work. I'm in the dark.
So after he sent this email, I probably spent an entire day playing around with Python and Coffee and C++. I tried getting Visual Studio installed so that I could get that working and stuff, to see if I could just find my way around stuff. And I couldn't. I suck at this. Like, I understand the basic concept of if-then statements and like, this drives this. But that's why I love Espresso, because it's visual and it's so easy to learn, versus, actual physical code.
I would like to know more about the reason for kind of doing, I don't want to call it backwards. It's not that it's backwards. It's just that the industry that I'm from, usually when they want to see, they already have the visual, the previs stuff. When they want to see something more realistic, then they give it to me or something. And say, hey, can you load this file up and make it look more realistic? Like, I'm trying to figure out like the reason you would start in Cinema 4D.
Remember that time? Remember that time you sent that video. It was someone had rendered something for it, or did a 3D model of it, and you had to create basically sweeping versions around to see how the lights work and blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's for the Oprah tour.
Yeah, for the Oprah tour. Sorry, that's right. So wouldn't it be amazing if you could take all the light movements that you had already created,
right? Right,
and then just be able to control it through the program that you already did, which is, I think that's awesome. And I don't know if that's like actually what he's doing.
I wonder
if it's not. I'm patenting that right now. So
I wonder if it's
patent pending.
DMX, like, like if you move something in cinema, if it actually sends DMX, because I know that the people that I work with, that's what they would want to be able to do if it works that way, so that they all spoke the same language. I'm not sure. I'd like to know more. So lately I've been building plugins to help me have more direct control of the installations that I'm working on by linking them directly to MoGraph setups on Cinema 4D Timeline. See, that is what it is. Doing MoGraph and it affects.
This is just like, it's so beautiful. Okay, so if you guys are at your computer right now, go to pixelsinprogress.com/light dash masonry, MASONRY. And you can watch this video. What?
Light dash masonry, right?
Isn't that what I said?
Anyway. Okay.
You can watch this video of like it working, but it is absolutely crazy awesome. Anyway, go ahead. Oh boy, now it's playing.
Excuse me.
In my ears.
Sorry.
Man, he's got these like totally cool, just awesome streaks of light and stuff. It's like there must be so much environment fog in there.
He says, so this is ranged from controlling moving head lights to live projection mapping in Cinema 4D meshes and loads of other things too. I have a couple of workflow plugins that are available on my site. Here's some examples, and that's the link. We'll put that in the show notes.
It looks like he actually, I don't know if he created this rig or whatever, but he's got a plugin where basically, man, that is so cool. Sorry. Just check it out.
Before I got so involved with the coding and technical direction, I used to do a lot more actual rendering, so it's great to hear your Ravco parentheses cock.
What's your flavor?
Feature, which is keeping me up to date in the various render engines, hopefully making sure I don't get too rusty. Keep up the great work with the podcast. Give me a shout if you want to talk about anything Python, C4D related. Totally.
Yeah.
Because we've got some ideas.
I totally did. Him and I have actually been emailing back and forth, and so can't remember. We're definitely gonna call you for some plugin stuff.
And that's the thing, is that
let's collaborate.
There's still a lot of stuff that we're just gonna do, like we were saying with Espresso and just simple stuff. But to be able to do things, well, first of all, like serial numbers, which that's a whole nother thing we got to get into, on the serial number control and the version controls and all of that stuff. But to be able to do things like have presets that you save yourself that you can come back to. You can't really do that unless you resave that plugin with your settings, which you can do, but we want to be able to go in and have on our texture plugin that we're working on presets that you put in yourself. And I think that's the kind of thing we need help on. And I've been able to do some of this stuff using Coffee. The problem is, and I could not figure this out, that in Coffee, whenever you do these, like this programming stuff, and then you duplicate, like say you had a spotlight and it was using Coffee.
Right.
You would duplicate the spot, and then you would have two spots, and you would move them, and they would both respond to that Coffee. Like it doesn't see them as different things; they're all the same.
Right.
Whereas Espresso is relative.
Say it's because they see it as it has an individual like object ID or something like that, and so it's just taking it from that ID.
That object, that was the problem I had. I thought I had everything worked out in Coffee in early versions of the Spotlight. And I had some additional features that I was going to add, which I haven't added because of this. And I had it working, and I copied the Spotlight, and then they were both doing the same thing. And I was like, oh no, my plan is ruined because they had the same object ID. So, and I searched too. I was trying to figure out how can you make it relative. Espresso, if you do a ton of Espresso stuff and it's all within a null, then whenever you copy and paste it, it's all relative to that null. And you have two different Espressos at that point. They're not referencing each other anymore. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, hey, you didn't have this in the notes, but I just thought about it. So for those of you who own the Brograph Luminous plugin, or are thinking about getting it, good news, everyone. I was testing it out this week, the Brograph Quick Sky works flawlessly with the Grayscale Gorilla HDRI link. So if you really enjoy the ability to just have that quick sky, and have your controls right there with you, so where you don't have to go through and do all this this mess. All you do is add your Grayscale Gorilla link tag to it, and if you've got Grayscale Gorilla link, then you change your HDR type to custom, and then just drag and drop the HDR wherever you would put the file. Drop that right onto the HDRI link, and then you can browse away.
It's pretty awesome.
What's really cool is that how they worked out that functionality. It's awesome because basically from what it seems like, the file path you're just dragging and telling it where the file path is for whatever program or whatever Ravcock you're using, So I don't know. So it works perfectly with the Quick Sky, and it's not, what's cool is it's not one or the other, and that's the way, what I was really worried about whenever Chad was showing it off last year at NAB. I was like, oh man, they're stealing our idea, blah, 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 even though they had never even seen it, So, but but being able, they complement each other really well. Throw in a Brograph Quick Sky, throw in the HDRI link, and then use one of their custom things so that you don't have to go through the whole mess of creating a light and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because I don't want to go down the road of HDRI packs. I don't want to mess with that. Yeah. I want to do libraries and go take photos and do all that kind of junk.
Totally.
So, Liam, a.k.a. 531 on Twitter. He's got a comment, VR question. You love the VR. Hey, bros, I heard the DFWC4D event was amazing. Congrats. The question, I had a client approach me about doing a VR scene completely in Cinema 4D. Do you guys have any resources you can point me to? Do you need a Rift, etc. to create for VR? Number one, you need to talk to Sage.
I was just about to say, you really need to talk to Sage about this. He's been doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. He'll be like, I got you, fam. And so here's the deal with messing with what we've messed with without knowing programming. It is very easy to do the back and forth part of it. It's when you get down to the nitty gritty that it becomes more difficult. You can quickly create a scene and just bam, put it into either Unity or into Unreal Engine. I have personally gone back and forth, and I'm still trying to decide which one I like better. I think we should start messing with the Octane one. Is that Unity? Yeah, but see, there's gonna be a plugin for Unreal too. But I think that's more on the Brigade front and not like this built-in deal. And the thing that I like about Unity is it feels so much like Cinema 4D. And I may have talked about this on the show, but there is a Cineversity plugin and I think I linked to this already, that will allow you to take nulls, individual nulls, and this is something you have to be a member of Cineversity, which you get if you have a copy of Cinema 4D. It allows you to take everything within a null and make that its own FBX, kind of on the fly, right?
Oh, that's cool.
So you've got a city, you've got the streets, you've got the houses, you've got the buildings, you've got the miscellaneous pieces, and every single one of those sections you could keep in its own null, especially if you have like a really giant scene and a lot of it is maybe more low poly because it's far away and you're never venturing out that far in the particular game or VR deal. It's just kind of background stuff.
Yep.
And then, you get more and more detail the further into the middle of the scene you get. Well, that stuff in the middle can be its own null, and this plugin will export those FBF objects one at a time, an FBX for every null, or you could say just do this one null by itself. And the reason that's advantageous is because when you're in Unity and you can import Cinema 4D files natively, which is super cool, and it's super fun to play around with. However, I've noticed, and I think it wasn't Dan who gave the talk at NAB last year about
the VR stuff.
VR.
Oh boy, I want to say it. I don't know.
Well, okay, we gotta look it up.
I'm
my
looking it up.
mind is
You
like
keep
blank right
doing
now. It's the tip of my tongue. So he was talking about the fact that they ended up going with FBXs as well, and they were using Unity. And the thing about it is, say you have a really giant Cinema 4D scene and you try and bring it into Unity. Every time that you save in Cinema 4D, it's kind of like a live update thing. You go back to Unity, and then Unity sits there and it has to kind of think about it in the library and like re-import it.
Joshua Mitchie.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the thing about doing these FBXs this way is that if you import a whole bunch of FBXs instead of one giant scene, then when you go back, like the first time it's going to take a while to import, but when you go back, if you just do an FBX export of one little area, then when you flip back over to Unity, it sits there and it only has to think for a second just to update that one FBX and not all the other pieces of your scene. So it is relatively easy to set this up in Cinema 4D and then take it over. Now, you can't completely do the scene in VR because you have to use something that will allow you to do VR. You know, Cinema doesn't have like a VR deal. It's not creating software, you know?
Right.
You can export VR like cubic or spherical maps, but you're not going to be able to move around.
Right.
You know, these are just, renderings in one place. Do you need a Rift? Not necessarily, depending on what you're doing. Like, you could create stuff that would run on like an iPhone, and you could put it in cardboard or something.
Yeah.
Or a Samsung.
I don't know. I feel like you'd have to know a little bit more about the programming stuff.
You would need something. Yeah. I think you could do a Samsung VR, and export it that way and use that. You wouldn't necessarily have to buy like the $800 Oculus Rift or the Vive or something to do it. You could do it on a smaller scale.
Although it's worth it.
Oh, it's totally worth it. The thing is, if the person wants you to do VR, hopefully that means they can just afford to, spend an extra $800 in there somewhere where you can put that into your miscellaneous costs to buy the thing anyway.
Right. So, but I would hope if they're also paying for VR stuff, you really know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And it depends. If they want a scene that is done in cinema and you just kind of go into the scene and you just walk around with an Xbox controller, there's enough pre-made stuff in Unity. You can just bring in the controller and you can say set these pieces in this ground as hard body, because it has the whole dynamics thing. These are collider objects, that kind of thing. You can totally do that in a day. You can learn that in a day, totally.
Yep.
I've done it. I've messed around with it. The moment that you start programming anything, that's when it becomes difficult.
Yeah.
So keep
start reaching into that Python stuff. Yeah. But
I don't even know about Python, if Python is what people use in Unity or not. I think it's probably C something.
Yeah. Then you got to call Adam.
Then you got to call Adam. Yeah. So, he said keep it up. It's been pretty good, I guess. Yes. We've got from Jay Thompson, who says, subject, getting clients. Hey, bros. Thank you for your podcasts and insightful YouTube uploads. They've really helped me understanding the motion design sector, technically as well as in my career. I'm a big fan of your podcast. Love to hear about the Octane stuff, Jay. And can't wait to get my first VR setup. This is really interesting, like the way like everybody is just slowly getting into this VR sector right now.
Really and I saw, I was really worried because I was reading a news article yesterday that's saying that like VR, like Oculus isn't doing so well.
Is that the one I posted?
It might have been. No, if you posted it on Facebook, I didn't see it.
Well, it was on the front page of Tech Meme yesterday, and I posted it, and I just had a little paragraph that I wrote, which is the average Joe who walks into a Best Buy is...
Oh, yeah, it was the one about Oculus, like all the Best Buys, they're getting rid of the Oculus setups and stuff like that.
It's Facebook. They say sometimes they'll go days without doing a demo. And I've walked into Best Buy in the middle of the day. Nobody's doing anything, let alone going up for a VR demo. They're getting rid of 200 out of 500 kiosks. And you know what? What I said on this is that your average Joe is coming into Best Buy. He's buying a $50 headphone adapter for his phone, which is awful in the first place.
Or a TV or a movie.
Right. Or something like that. It's just not your clientele.
Or what I do at Best Buy is I look for it on Amazon, see if it's cheaper on Amazon than it is at Best Buy. If they have it at Best Buy, I'll go to Best Buy and I'll have them price match it, and then I'll buy it there.
Yeah, they have HDMI female-to-female turnarounds for $25 a piece. Yeah. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's 2 cents worth of plastic and metal.
Yeah.
Because it's Monster. Oh, it's gold-plated, so it works better. No, it doesn't. So,
dude, those Fry's ones still cost us $10 a piece.
Yeah, but still, and the ones we got on Amazon, dude, we got 25-foot HDMI cables. Yeah. Amazon
thick
Basics.
HDMI cables.
Really not cheapo, thick. For the presentations for $12 a piece. I mean, come on. Maybe you wouldn't use something that cheap for an installation. I get it. But come on, when you need a cable for something, it's like, so that's the clientele going into a Best Buy. And so you look at that and you're like, is that guy going to go over there and be like, oh, this is really cool. How do I use this? Oh, well, you've got to buy a computer. Oh.
Here's the problem. You have to have a guy there showing you how to do it. That's the big problem. Like, they don't just have one of these things where you can put a headset on like they do with like the Nintendo Wii's or the PS3s or something, where you just go up and you just start playing.
Understandably, though. I mean,
you don't want a bunch of gross faces all over.
Yeah, but kids are going to pick it
one
up.
time, and when we would have the wigs out, it was like you do not touch the wigs. You do not put the wigs on because you don't know how many people have put those on their head.
Lice. Enjoy your lice. But I understand the whole thing with that. They want it controlled. Kids are going to pick it up. They're going to destroy it. It's going to be broken on the first day. They're going to pinch the cables. It's not a kid's toy.
Yeah.
And so I understand that whole part of it, but the main thing,
this gaming system is for adults only.
Yeah, you're gonna first of all, like, they're gonna tell you, oh, well, you have to buy this expensive gaming PC in order for this.
You really don't have to buy a super expensive gaming PC.
Well, what's the one that they offer? It's $1,000.
No, it's $400.
What is
$400 for the gaming PC?
Right,
it's like
with a 1060.
Here's a glowing endorsement for Best Buy.
Right.
You can buy the Oculus and the touch controllers and a gaming PC for like $1,200.
Right, but it's still $1,200.
Yeah, but it comes with a GTX 1060.
Right,
you can do Octane with that.
There's just a lot getting into it, and here's the thing that I said in that paragraph with the article is that the way that these things are going to get popular is not from being in a kiosk that somebody walks by. The way that these are going to get popular is when someone says, oh my gosh, you have to try VR. Like, this is so amazing. Try this headset on. It's friends and family. That's how Mac got popular. Macintoshes went popular with public because the nerds who discovered these and realized like how great these laptops were back in the day before they are like they are now, it said, hey, like, you got to get this. It works so well. This is what you need. And the friends and family are like, okay, now it's the other way. Now people are saying, you know what, if you're going to get a laptop, I don't think you should get this plastic looking MacBook with the stupid little control panel at the top, touch bar.
Yep.
And it's going to be, oh, you should get a Razer, you know?
Hey, my dad wanted a computer. He plays Civilization, Civilization 5, and he called me up the other day. He's in the airport coming home from Hawaii, coming here, and he was like, my computer just will not play, Civilization very well, and this is all I want to play, and I need something with some good RAM and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, get a Razer Blade. It's like $2,500. Oh, I don't want to spend that much money. Maybe like half that. Maybe half that. So I go looking up online. Sure enough, they got an Alienware an Alienware 15-inch with a full GTX 1060 in it. You know, it's only an HD screen or whatever, and it's heavy as hell. But man, it's solid, and it's got a 1 terabyte drive in it. 8 gigs of RAM, but the cool thing about this Alienware is you flip it over, dude, you can install 3 different of those SSD cards, like the ones that look like RAM, you know?
Oh, yes.
You can
what do they
install
call
3
those?
of those.
M something?
I don't know.
I forget what they're called.
But like, it's got spots for 3 of them.
Wow.
It's also got spots for more RAM if you want to add it. It's ridiculous. So, you know, and I was like, here, this is the one you want? $1,200. That's how much it was.
Yeah.
It was $1,200.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
ordered it on Amazon, got here in 2 days, you know, and he was up and running. When he turned it on, he started playing Civilization, and he's like, oh my gosh, the water isn't just one color. It's actually got waves to it.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, yeah, dude, welcome to the world of gaming.
But again, it's friends and family. You know, they're the ones who push it. And I just don't... VR, it's not like VR is taking a decline. That's what they make it look like. It's not. Like, everybody I know, like I talked about my brother-in-law, he's like, what do I need to do at the cheapest level to get this to work where it works well and buy this stuff? I'm not sending him to Best Buy to buy it. I'm going to be like, dude, I got you. We're going to put together a machine for you that is, you know, something you can afford, but it still works with VR, and you're going to be good to go. I might even tell him, hey, you should buy this Razer laptop. If you really want to do it, you'll get a new laptop and you can play VR.
Yeah, totally. The biggest thing that I've found with VR, I love how we just got onto a VR kick again, even though we have been off of it.
Well,
for
it
3
is
weeks.
a VR question, which we haven't.
Yeah. The biggest thing about VR is you just don't know what it's like until you put that helmet on and you're actually interacting in real life.
Even when you look at games online to buy, you're like, I don't know.
My biggest thing that I've always said, Space Pirate Trainer. It looks so dumb. I was never going to buy Space Pirate Trainer.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite games, except Sage just got us Blasters VR, so I'm going to give that one a try.
Check it out.
Nah, that's going to be
But the thing is, like, again, this is all pushing in that direction. There's some crossing of industries that are happening right now, which is why we address it. You know, these people here are asking about it. Sage is working on some stuff like that, and it's all coming together, and you got to stay on top of it, because in 10 years you don't know where that could go. You're gonna, you know, you could end up saying, oh, whatever, VR, whatever, and then all of a sudden you miss the bus, and you know, you're going out there trying to get a job, and it's like, well, do you know Unity? No. Well, I thought all 3D animators knew Unity, you know, something like that. And so it's really good to at least stay on top of it, at least hear it, even if you don't have VR. You know, I listen to a lot of tech podcasts. I listen to network podcasts and stuff like that, like Security Now, for example. And I mean, what a great show. I learned so much about networking. Am I an IT specialist? No. But when I go set up my router, you better bet that I know everything about programming and like configuring my router to where it does all the things I want it to do. You know, it's just good to have that a broader knowledge about stuff like that. So
totally.
Let's see. I'm a London-based motion designer, and I work freelance for a number of the big creative agencies in the UK and Europe. Usually I do work for their client base in their building. Remote working is not very common in the UK.
See, that seems weird to me when I read this, you know, that I don't know, that remote working isn't common.
Yeah. Well,
I
it'll
don't know,
get
it's
more
super common
I
here.
guess. You know, and UK is smaller.
Yeah.
So
I guess,
you know, I saw a thing on Facebook the other day. It's like people in the United States are like, hey, there's a concert going on. It's 3 hours from here. Oh, that's not bad. Let's go see it. If you're in the UK, it's like, there's a concert 3 hours from here. It's like, you mean I have to go to France? You know, it's
funny.
kind of a different mentality, you know. Same thing with like trains and public transit. There's, you know, I can't go to El Paso on a train from here.
Gosh,
you know,
that's an all-day trek, and you haven't even left Texas.
It's a 12-hour trip.
Yeah.
So, So, maybe it's less common because of that. There's not as much distance between people or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
Maybe most people walk to work, or take the,
Gosh,
or jump on the tube.
I walk to work
in the underground.
The 20 feet from my bedroom into my office. It's great.
So my question is, how would I go about getting my own clients, and how can I get more remote work? Keep up the great work. Me and my wife listen to the podcast all the time. All the best, Jay. P.S. I don't actually have a wife. I just wanted to say my wife.
My wife.
Drink. So, let's talk about that. Getting your own clients is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Cold calling stuff is tough,
It is, and it really, it's all through word of mouth. You have to be able to network. If there's networking events, have your business card, have your demo reel. It really is all about networking. And I like to joke around that I'm schmoozy Matt, because I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, I love going to these networking things because I just like to schmooze. But really, that's what we're doing. Schmoozing, is the same thing as networking. And networking really is just talking and hanging out and get to know the person and getting to use, they're getting to see get their cards and seeing their demo reels and blah, blah, blah. And building up this network of people that you can use as resources.
Right.
Yeah. And really, I had one person come up to me at DFWC 4D and take the initiative and say, hey, if you guys are ever looking for freelancers, here's my card.
Yeah.
Or no, he didn't have a card. I gave him my card and I said, email me your demo reel. I'll take a look at it. And if we've got anything, I'll totally send it your way.
Yeah. I had somebody the other day who sent me an email. And I barely even remembered the first time they emailed me, but they were just talking about audio design stuff. And they said, I sent you a thing a while back. I got your name from so-and-so. And if you ever need sound design, here's our work. And I looked at it and it was really good. And they've done some great, cool sound design stuff for video game commercials and things like that. And I'm like, this is really cool. I don't necessarily need it right now, but I'm going to kind of keep it in the back of my mind. So what happens 2 years from now when I need some really major sound design? I'm going to look that up. Look up that email.
And, keep in contact. Keep in contact with a lot of your friends within the industry as well, and because we have an artist guy who we use occasionally, and he's just sent me an email out of the blue, and he's like, hey, let me know if you got any work coming up. I'd love to do it, to help you out, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, a week later, something came along, and I was like, we're going to use him, because you got to stay on top of the mind of all the people who are actually using you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Why is Dropbox support sending us something from something we asked them a month ago?
I don't know.
Weird.
Applied to you earlier. Anyway, weird.
So that's the number one thing is the networking, and I know that 90% of the time it's not going to work out. It's going to fall through. Someone says they have a thing, it's not going to happen, but you have to just keep doing that over and over.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this on the last podcast. I probably did. But we spent a lot of money on DFWC 40. We had a lot of sponsors, but we spent a buttload of money to make this event really nice.
Thousands of
flying
dollars.
Everyone in. Yeah, thousands of dollars in order to just let everyone have a good time.
Right.
And really, if we get one job from it, it paid for itself.
Right.
If not, who cares? We still had a really good time. We still networked.
And we got content for our site, and
we're building our brand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Spending
important.
money
To make money.
Yeah.
So other ways to get clients. The thing is, if you're just starting out, it's so tough. And
you gotta have a good reel.
Yeah, you have to.
Gotta have a good reel, and you gotta network.
And you've got to. You're gonna slowly get a couple things, and then slowly a couple more, and then word of mouth will happen. And it's such a slow, frustrating process sometimes. And even with Brograph, for example, we're still. We're not big time.
No,
we're not as big as Grayscale Gorilla or something like that. But we are doing better than we were 3 years ago, but it took so long. And at the beginning, we're like, oh my gosh, 4 people watched this tutorial,
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes forever.
Dude, when we would get a retweet from someone, it was like 1,000 views in a day. Holy cow.
Right.
We've made it.
Right.
You know? And we started the podcast. Our very first listeners, that week, we had like 25 listeners. And it's like, holy cow, 25 people actually want to listen to us talk.
Right.
You know?
It's such a long, and if you look at it in terms of analytics, like you go back and you look at our numbers, and you can see slowly, month after month and week after week, and it finally.
And then Grayscale mentions us, and it's like gigantic jump, and then it tapers off a little bit, but we kept about 1,000 listeners.
And then the holidays go, you know, and so I like to say between what we have online, our RSS feeds, our media, and all that, we have about 10,000 listeners. That's an estimate right now based on what we can get, because we don't have full analytics. Most podcasters have the same issue where you just don't know exactly. A lot of it goes by IP address, and you don't know if it's...
I really think we should pay the extra, but I've been pushing that for like a year and a half just to get the extra so that we can see.
For Libsyn.
You don't, but I check that analytics like every 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not...
It's one of my muscle memory buttons.
Oh, gosh. Well, even if you use Libsyn, the thing is, it goes back to downloads, and it's like, okay, what is a download? Is that if somebody hits play and listens for 10 seconds because it's pinged it? What if somebody goes back and continues listening to something 5 or 6 times? Does it count it as 5 downloads? There's no way to know. And even these giant podcasts just don't have perfect numbers. And but again, to bring that back to what we're talking about, is the curve is long, and it takes just forever. When
Dave and I started, we started Brograph about the same time as that we formed our company. And really what we were doing is we were just, we had a few clients that we were doing work for, and it was all just people that we had done work for in the past.
Right.
Like we had a few clients here and there, and then slowly we started to build up. We got one big job, and that helped, put a lot of capital into our bank account, and then eventually, and who is it? Is it Merlin Man? No, who does quit?
Dan Benjamin.
Dan Benjamin always says have 3
months?
3 to 6 months.
6 months capital.
3 to 6 months worth of savings saved
to
up.
Jump off.
That's hard. That is very hard to do unless you are extremely motivated and really dedicated, So you can either do that, or you can find yourself a really good client who has a guaranteed certain amount of money per month to where you can actually make up the rest.
And the other thing with the second part of the question about getting the remote work, I think if you get that work, you can just automatically do it remotely. Make sure that you're out there trying to advertise that kind of work. If you're advertising that you do full video production and that they can sit down and edit with you and all of that stuff, more likely they're going to want to go somewhere, that's more of a professional place, even if you do have a nice setup in your house. Although I had a client who loved the fact that it was at a house, mainly because he could have a couple beers and come over, and then we could eat, and we could have a couple more beers, I guess. Yeah. And he was just hanging out at the house. He loved that. He was like, I know that I'm not paying for your $1,000 chair to sit in, and for an art director to sit behind you and just be there for $500 an hour, and not really, but that kind of thing. It's very client specific. You never know which client is going to like it and which one isn't. Most people don't ask, and most people don't care, but from time to time they ask. And I think we talked about that in the last show about what you say in that situation. Getting more clients is number one, all about the real. And talking to school students, I try to avoid this because I don't want the teachers to get mad at me, but a college degree is irrelevant. The college degree is more about...
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You will learn a lot in college if you go. You will learn a lot about history, a lot about science, a lot about other stuff, and you can also grow some of your interests, Right. Here's the thing. I've been doing video since high school. I did not want to do video work.
Right.
So I went to school for something completely else after I had already gone to school for video work, Like, I didn't want to do that.
But I have to clarify.
But I was growing, like my knowledge base was growing so much to where the pay scale for what I could make as a video guy, like, overtook what I could make as someone going into whatever starting salary field I was studying for.
Right.
So I finally just said, you know what? I've done enough school. I think I'm done.
Right. And to clarify, I'm not saying don't go to college, because people are going to get mad about that. The thing is, I learned a lot in college, but it wasn't about graphics. It was about video. It was about lighting. It was about camera. It was about audio. It was about all engineering, that kind of thing. That kind of stuff did help me. Did I have to finish my degree after I got my first job? No, but I came back and I finished it anyway, just to say I had it. But if you are out of high school and you had a bunch of video training and you get out of high school and that summer you start working in cinema and you are like one of the few that's like super, super awesome right out the gate and you have a great reel, you're just going to get hired. They're not going to come to you, especially as a contractor. They're not going to come to you and say, can I see your degree, please? Nobody has ever asked me for my degree. I have
never asked. I wouldn't even care about a degree.
Right.
If I was hiring someone.
Yeah. Look at the reel and you say, whoa. It's
when you buy a Dead Mouse CD, do you say, can I see your audio degree?
Right.
No.
Exactly.
Mr. Mouse.
Mr. Mouse. So that reel.
So where have you been working for the past 10 years, Mr. Mouse?
there's no there.
I see a really long gap in between high school and current.
Yeah.
That you don't seem to have anything. What have you been doing for this whole time, Mr. Mouse?
I've been dropping beats.
Dropping beats.
I hope that's helpful. You know, it's a long process. But
yes,
real networking, online and off. Network in person a lot,
especially online and off. Yeah, for sure.
Network in person. You can't just network on the internet. Get involved locally, and just make the type of job you want. And if you are working somewhere else and you're doing this on the side, it's going to take longer. Trust us, from experience, it's going to take a lot longer than if you had the time. But once you get that chance, just go for it, because everybody told me, oh, you'll be fine once you get out there. And I was worried, and I didn't want to take the risk. I even
said it too.
Yeah.
You know, I said, we'll be fine. I'm not worried about it, but I was worried about it. You know, I still stressed out about it. But man, I mean, we're fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine and you're fine. We're all fine.
Totally. So, all right. Let's wrap it up.
It's going to be a short show.
Let's wrap up our short hour and 50-minute show.
I know, right?
And let's say you can rate us on iTunes and leave a review. Don't forget that the contest ends at the end of February for the random drawing for a no Brograph, no MoGraph tee. We also sell those on the website and on Amazon if you want to check them out, as well as the Paul Babb 2020 shirt. Yep. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube and on the iTunes feed for the podcast to help us get us our numbers up. We're moving up in the ranks right now.
Moving up in this world. Moving on up.
We're in a different category than some.
iTunes.
But
what?
We're in a different category than some in the industry on iTunes, and we're moving up pretty well. I want to say like number 150 or something in our particular category, which isn't bad. There's a lot of podcasts out there. So
yes, there are.
You know.
What are we in? Like arts? Are we in arts?
Visual arts.
Okay.
You can sign up for our newsletter as well on the website if you want to get info from us. Very rarely does that happen. I believe it's been like a year and a half. I think once we get our new
basically
stuff,
since we started,
once we get our stuff kind of launched, we'll probably do another one, like with our new round of tutorials and such, which we're on the cusp. Now that we have this intro, we're ready to go.
Yep. Did you hear that new music?
Yeah,
it's so
awesome. Good. You can say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, the No Brograph, No MoGraph tee, like I said, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Brograph.com, of course, and we're going to be coming to Twitch very soon.
Very soon.
And that about wraps it up. Until next time, I'm Dave.
I'm Matt.
Have a good one.
Later, bros.
pretty good, I guess. Brograph.com, an online resource for learning critical components of Cinema 4D and After Effects, specifically catered to help you prevail as a motion graphic designer.
What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph motion graphics tutorial.
We give you professional time-saving tips, shortcuts, and lessons that help give you an edge over your fellow designers. Not only this, but our new Brograph Talks help you in your file management, hardware configuration, and client relations.
I love projects that scare me. When our art director comes to us and asks for something that I had never done before, man, it gets me pumped.
Join us for live sessions, check out our crazy Cinema 4D experiments, or just watch our Fun with Brograph series, where we show you practical applications for techniques learned in previous tutorials. Do this from the beginning, and your client is going to respect that, and they're going to respect you, and they're going to respect your time. Subscribe today and get automatic updates on the latest tutorials, tricks, tips, and inspiration brought to you by industry professionals Dave Koss and Matt Milstead, all with a slight dash of dry humor peppered in. Real nice banana.
Brograph.com, your source for tutorials that will help you thrive in the motion graphics industry. Don't just play around with Cinema 4D and After Effects, master it, and make money by becoming indispensable at your workplace.
We don't care how you get here, folks. Just get here. Subscribe now to Brograph Tutorials. It's pretty good, I guess.